ISIS are all over us now. We've actually had stuff coming in from behind our own line.
My name's Phil Campion. I'm ex-D Squadron 22 SAS.
Don't worry about me, let's get it on.
And I've been on the front line with the men...
So you in a prison? Yes.
...and women risking their lives in a bloody war whose outcome affects us all. I'm headed into quite possibly the most dangerous place on earth. This is one of the last border crossings into Syria that's still open. And coming the other way is the latest in a stream of refugees fleeing a brutal civil war. It started 4 years ago with an uprising against President Assad. And what followed was a descent into chaos. Now, Moscow's intervention in support of the Assad regime threatens an international crisis. And while Russia and the West can agree that Islamic State is their common enemy, no one has yet come up with a plan to stop them.
I'm in the back of the car now, and for a reason. We're on our way down to the Syrian front line, and I've got the two lads in the front, both locals, both know what they're doing, both been here before. They answer all the questions and any roadblocks. They afford me a little bit of time should things go wrong. The reason I don't want to be seen in town now is there's Assad's people here. They'd probably like to get their hands on me, they'd capture me, they'd take me away, no problems, and do what they've got to do with me. But worse than that, there's IS sleeper cells in town, and if they get hold of me, well, you all know what happens there.
I'm travelling through the ruins of the city of Al-Hasika in northern Syria. The devastation all around me has been caused by intense street-to-street fighting between local Kurdish militias and Islamic State forces. The engagement has lasted nearly 4 months now, and parts of the city have changed hands on numerous occasions. And these are the soldiers currently on top. They are the Kurdish People's Protection Units, the YPG. They are acknowledged as the most effective fighters against IS, but they're also the sworn enemies of Turkey, the West's main regional ally. And that means the most they can expect for their efforts is a quick thumbs up. At regional headquarters, the local commander fills me in on what's been happening in the area.
Yeah, Mosul's around here somewhere.
Although there's stuff on here that we can both relate to, this map is already out of date. In only a few months, much of the region has changed beyond recognition. Al-Hasika is on the northern point of what is effectively a new country. It's the so-called Islamic State, a control zone that stretches west into Syria and east into Iraq, and one that threatens the Kurdish people and their homeland. The YPG argue that they and the West share a common goal in defeating IS, but they're lacking the tools to finish the job.
What we need are heavy weapons, like machine guns, tanks and mortars. No one seems to be cooperating with us. We actually have to smuggle these weapons ourselves. If you are going to fight a big battle, you can't just fight it with airstrikes. It has to be fought on the ground with tanks.
That help is unlikely. In the meantime, this lot on the front line will just have to make do. So I've come to find out how they're coping.
I am primarily a soldier and not a journalist. Although now I am slightly bigger than a few years ago, I feel it is important, if the story is to be told, it is to be told through somebody who understands other soldiers.
I wasn't quite sure how much was lost in translation, because at first it looked as if I wasn't getting through. But then there was a dig at me that broke the ice.
Don't worry, mate. If they shoot at you, it will just bounce off.
Outside, I was given the full 360. It's got all the bits and pieces, including underground bunkers to deal with incoming mortar fire. This position is known as a forward operating base, or FOB. From here, these lads spend all day monitoring the IS front line, and if they see anything move, then it's fair game.
Thousand Metres village. 3 fingers right of village, small building and cops. In the distance, driving away from that, and you might not see him now because he's on a lane, is the ISIS motorcycle, and he's headed towards that village in the distance. They saw some movement in the village, and because everything in that village is deemed to be hostile, they've had a go at it. Now they're making the weapons safe. It's back to duty as normal.
I know from experience that 99% of any conflict is waiting around for it to go noisy. And I use the lull in the fighting to have some chit-chat and social with Jano.
Let's get away from soldiering for 5 minutes, because, you know, you're a man like myself. Let's talk tattoos. What tattoos do you have? I have plenty of tattoos. You look like you have some tattoos yourself. Okay, so you've got a snake on here. This one here, the swallow, a lot of people used to have this in the old days. It's a tattoo you'd have if you'd have been put inside prison. So you've been in prison? He has. Good man. Are these all homemade tattoos? These ones here, these small ones, you've done all these yourself? Yeah. I got. Like this one here. This good tattoo I have here. Oh, he's done me with that one. Okay, we won't get undressed now, but yeah, go on, get it out. Yeah, let's have a look. Go on, Jano. Let's have a butcher's. Hang on. Okay, now this is your girlfriend? Yeah, this is your
Jano was just like me. He liked to get involved, and he didn't have to explain too hard why he was here.
These savages are not Islam, and we want to defend our homes. Why do they go around killing innocent people and children? We would not allow them to do this. They're not even human. We have to get rid of them from the face of the earth.
One thing was abundantly clear from the beginning. For a bunch of geezers fighting in the front line against IS, or what they call Daesh, their kit was poor to shocking at best. This German rifle wouldn't look out of place on the Antiques Roadshow.
Tell us where'd you get this?
Daesh.
From Daesh, yeah? From dead body? From killed soldier? You took this from someone who was killed, yeah? So this is picked off of the enemy. This is a new addition, this sight rail. I don't think that the Germans put that on there originally, because I don't think they'd have had a sight for it. Have you used it? Have you used it back? See, did he get the? Ask him if he got the scope. Did he manage to get the scope from Daesh? No. You get it. Better luck next time. Hey, let's have a look. That is a serious bit of kit, that is, I'm telling you. Having said that, it all counts. It all counts, doesn't it, buddy, eh? The solid butt here, boom, yeah. You know, crunch. No, it's a good bit of kit. Solid, good man. If you're going to butt someone, right? If you're going to butt someone, this bit here, up, bang, yeah? So up, smash, all right? Flick, up, smash, yeah? Get violent with it. Yeah, good. That's what we like. Hopefully you'll still have some ammunition there. Ammo's involved now. Yeah. Here he comes.
I'd met some decent blokes in my time, and one thing was for sure, I'd have Jano and his crew with me rather than against me any day.
Here he comes.
But at last light, I began to see just how vulnerable this position really is. The YPG are top troops and in their element when it comes to street fighting. But this base was part of an overstretched front line, manned by a small group with dodgy weapons. And if it kicked off, Jano would need to get some backup here pretty quickly, or face the consequences. Coming up, I spend a night out with the other half of this formidable fighting force, and I find out what's in store for the IS fighters who go up against them. It's early morning on the front line in Syria, and I'm paying a visit to some of the deadliest troops in the war against Islamic State. These are the YPJ, the women fighters of the Kurdish People's Protection Units. And believe me, you wouldn't want to mess with them. When I first arrived, I got the impression they weren't particularly pleased to see me. But that was before I'd worked the old famous Campion show.
Yeah, see? Well, this here. Children? Niños? Little ones? Paracaidista. Yeah, this is my children. Yeah. But wifey, yeah. No more, come on.
عم يقول عندي حبيبي بس ما عندي مرة.
حبيبي, no.
The old tattoo trick works every time, and soon Zirwan showed me one with her name and hometown. She joked it would help if she ever got captured by IS.
They just bring you back.
Now I'd broken the ice, there was one question I couldn't resist.
Who is the better fighter, the man or the woman?
This is my personal opinion. I swear no one has told me to say this. Women fight the same as men, maybe even better. But now we're all fighting for the same cause. We fight as equals. I say that men can never be superior to women, and vice versa. Yes, some fight just like men, maybe even better.
When all this is over, what would be the best thing to happen?
I hope this war finishes as quickly as possible and peace follows, not just here but in the whole world. That's my hope for humankind. So that's the message I send to the Islamic State. Go away. This place does not belong to you. This is not a place for lawless terrorism. This is a place for humanity.
All the signs around the base showed me that this lot had been right in the thick of the fighting. Yet I still found it hard to get used to the idea of young women on the front line. Some just older than my daughter. And then something happened that made me look on everything in a new light. Two of the fighters, Nasrin and Zilan, led me away from the camp. They said they wanted to show me where they kept their enemies. But it wasn't quite what I'd been expecting. It looked like this was some sort of trophy room. But they didn't stop there. Turns out they weren't squeamish about showing me their handiwork. For an IS fighter to be killed by a woman is the ultimate disgrace. They'll never make it to paradise. That evening, another unit of YPJ arrived to relieve some of their comrades. A couple of new arrivals were clearly suspicious of strangers. I was later told that members of this unit had been badly cut up in the recent fighting. The woman in the white baseball cap didn't want to speak to me. She was one of the only two survivors of a squad that had been wiped out in an IS ambush. Night time is witching hour, and Nasrin and Zilan are off on patrol. Their job is to scout around for IS infiltration units that creep in under the cover of darkness. The first stop is the ruin of a local prison. This location is of vital strategic importance and has changed hands many times during the heavy fighting in the past few weeks. The rooftop is the ideal spot to keep an eye on what IS are up to. The position is part of a front line that runs from the city of Al-Hasaka to the town of Talbrak in the northeast. The YPG claim that they control most of the territory to the west, but this area still suffers frequent car bomb and suicide attacks. A few miles to the south is a heavy concentration of die-hard IS fighters, including foreign mercenaries. While over here in the east is the IS control zone that now stretches across northern Iraq. So being stuck in the middle of all that lot means there's no nodding off. A few kilometres to the east, we start to pick up the sounds of a heavy bombardment.
ولی جانو دینه واسه خمسات باشه واسه خمسات حاجز السلام عليكم ازيك
In the darkness, I can't make out what's going on. But what happens next confirms one of my worst fears. I've just watched the guys here. They've identified a target and they've gone to engage it with this old dushka. It failed miserably. I can't believe it. He's lit himself up in full view of any enemy sniper. Frankly, if he'd been one of mine, he'd have got a good clout. It's a miracle that no one gets killed. Back on the outskirts of the city, Nasrin and Zeeland's patrol is coming to an end. Both of them are genuinely gutted they haven't had a pop at the enemy. I have to say that in all my travels, the YPJ are the most extraordinary fighting unit I've ever come across. But the thought of leaving a group of poorly armed women on an ill-prepared front line left me appalled. Next up, I cross over to Iraq and meet the lad living in Yorkshire who has come back to do his bit.
I decided to be part of a fight against this terrorists.
Everybody happy?
And I'm roped in to give some local militia a few tips on staying alive.
If I'm moving down or up, the muzzle must be kept up.
I've moved across the border from Syria and I'm in northern Iraq. It's a war zone, but there's no sign of the Iraqi army. A year ago, they were routed by IS, who helped themselves to billions of dollars of their American-supplied hardware.
Now we can see we're getting somewhere now. These places are probably, it looks like some sort of FOB they've brought us to. See, the places have got proper OHP on them now, which is overhead protection. So they're obviously getting some here. Old Russian tank there, look.
I've driven into a forward operating base controlled by the Peshmerga. Since the regular army did a runner, it's down to this Kurdish militia to hold the fort.
How long have you been Peshmerga?
Since 1992.
Since I know. Are these scars from fighting?
Yes.
Come on and tell us how. Tell me how. He's got some proper scars.
That was a suicide.
This was a suicide bombing, yeah? Where? Here? I know in the arm, yeah, but whereabouts was the suicide bombing?
In Rabi'a.
Yeah. What about this one here? What's the suicide bombing?
It was
In the Civil War. So you've been through a lot of action, yeah?
Yes, of course.
This man here is what the Peshmerga are about. A lot of people by now would have just given up the ghost. He's been through God knows what with that, and he's still out here scrapping. I've got to take my hat off all day to him.
Their heavily fortified compound is at a strategically vital crossroads. It lies at the very heart of a no-man's land that stretches between Kurdish territory to the north and the Islamist control zone to the south. There's not much in the Peshmerga locker to match the modern weaponry lifted from the Iraqi army. And that means they have to rely on the one thing the West does supply: airstrikes. Over the past year, the Western Coalition has flown thousands of missions against IS, and the numerous kills have had an impact. But as someone who has fought on the ground, I can tell you, air power only does half the job.
Just witnessed an airstrike, and it's fine, it's great, you know, we can chuck ordnance down there and, you know, we're helping out and everybody's seen to be doing their bit. But how much is actually being achieved? You know, the Peshmerga or somebody at some stage has got to go down there and get amongst it and properly sort it out. It won't be achieved by just slinging ordnance at them. 5 minutes later, their heads will be up and they'll be bunging mortars over here, they'll be firing their machine guns off. That something or somebody has to properly go into the village and sort it out. And if they don't, this is never going to finish.
Islamic State fighters have rapidly adapted to airstrikes. They've withdrawn into smaller bases and dispersed their forces over a wider area. And still, they have the capability to launch rapid counter-offensives and ground assaults. For the past 12 months, Kurdish communities across the whole of northern Iraq have lived in daily fear of Islamic State fighters only a few kilometres away. One way they prepare for the threat of an invasion is by banding together and setting up defensive militias. Yasir Abdullah emigrated to Yorkshire 16 years ago, but this summer he returned to his own village to protect his people.
I see in the TV in the UK, look at people traveling from all over the world. They come into our country, follow the ISIS, going through Syria, fighting our people. I decide we sitting in the UK and doing nothing. I couldn't handle stay in the UK to do nothing about it. I decided to be part of a fight against this terrorists.
Yasir and his mates are called Fire Force Unit 80, and it's made up entirely of part-time volunteers.
And presumably a lot of the guys that you're fighting alongside, just tell me a bit about them, their backgrounds. Who are they? What do they do?
Everyone, they had different lives. Some of them work with their company, some of them have got their own shop, some of them working with the market, some of them working Peshmerga, some of them working different jobs they've got. Everyone, they had different job, and when this started, everyone left their job and decided to fight against this ISIS.
Only a few hours after I linked up with Yasir, they get a call to the front line.
Right, so there is apparently a sniper out there. Yeah, I've not had any fizz this way yet, but these guys might be keeping his head down, so... So all this kit, this whole setup you see behind me, has all been paid for by themselves. You know, having been with the British Army and had all this sort of stuff laid on for me, they get nothing but my respect for doing this out of their own pockets.
But it's not long before I witness a familiar sight. Dodgy old kit that packs up in the heat of battle, leaving them with nothing but their defiance.
We are Peshmerga.
You're Peshmerga, buddy, yeah, you know that. You have nothing but respect for me.
So, things have calmed down a little now. Whoever was doing the fighting earlier has probably withdrawn. They've certainly had a fair amount back from this place, as we've just seen. Some of these people aren't trained, some of them are taxi drivers, bankers, whatever. All right, and they're out here giving it stacks against an enemy that is, to be fair, quite well organised, quite well equipped, and quite well motivated, without the fear of dying as well.
After the contact, it's back to the unit headquarters. Over the usual cup of chai, I had a chance to think about what I'd just seen. And I was worried about the basic level of combat awareness that Yasser and his men had shown.
Everybody happy? Well, that's good. Okay, if I'm not firing my weapon, my finger should be nowhere near the trigger. Okay, if I'm moving down or up, the muzzle must be kept up. I should never get up from the same place that I go down, in case the enemy saw me go down. Okay, tamam. 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 Okay. If they just stay here, okay, sniper goes 1, 2, 3, 4, boom, 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 yeah? Mafi mushkila. Mafi mushkila, halas. All gone, yeah? Okay, come on, let's go, 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 go! This is good, these are two good, they're getting it. They're good, okay, these two need to work together. Yeah, good, that's better. Halas! Stop! Okay. Cheers.
In the end, it wasn't much of a contribution.
Cheers. Okay, good man. Good man. Okay.
Just a couple of hours in the afternoon running through the basics.
Come on, buddy.
But in the light of everything I was finding out, it was the least I could do.
Stoppage already? Oh, that's jammed up. Well, as you can see, I've got a pretty bad stoppage on this already, and that's indicative of what these soldiers are being issued. That is absolutely jammed in there. And I've had to hit it on a rock to get it out. I'm not even going to continue with this test fire. And to be honest, that's a rifle that's been given to a soldier to fight with over here. Okay? That would have happened to him in battle. So to say that these people need kit is an understatement, all right? Already just looking at this weapon, it's got a plastic handle, 3 different types of wood, it's been cannibalised, probably taken off of two or three different soldiers have had this and possibly even been killed with it due to stoppages like that. And they're putting that against weapons that have been issued by the Americans to the Iraqi army and then subsequently lost and have gone into the hands of IS. So the only thing that evens this fight up at all is the fact that these guys are so game and willing to fight. Because otherwise, I wouldn't be here. This would be ruled by IS already.
Next, it all goes noisy, and I end up unarmed in one of the worst firefights of my life. This is Asyan camp in northern Iraq. It is now permanent home for more than 15,000 Yazidi refugees. Last year, the entire regional population fled from their homes in the north, following an all-out assault by Islamic State fighters.
You alright, fella? You shake my hand? Yeah? Good man? How are you? You alright, buddy? Yeah?
The Yazidis have been subjected to a brutal regime of ethnic cleansing. Driven out, enslaved and murdered by the Islamist fanatics for their religious beliefs.
What happened to Asman here? What's the story behind?
They shot her in the head, here and here. She was foolish, thinking she could run away, so they shot her. They took my granddaughter, despite my shouting and screaming and begging. They took her mother and her auntie. In fact, they took all our women. My granddaughter was only 10 years old.
And you've never seen her since, no?
No, they brought her back to me twice. They brought her back at night and then took her away again. There was nothing they did not do to her.
come across some fairly hideous things in my time, but that is just appalling, absolutely dreadful. I don't even want to talk about it.
Everybody screamed blue murder at the plight of the Yazidi people, yet nothing has been done. That means that these kids could face an entire lifetime in a camp like this.
Who's an arm wrestle? Arm wrestle, anyone? Yeah? No?
A little.
A little. Come on, down you go. Down you go. Arm wrestle. Come on, here we go. Come on, here we go. Whoosh! Rock off the muscles there, son. I'll let you use both hands. Both hands, go on. Oh, he's done me. He's done me. Genuinely heartbreaking, that is. You know, I've got kids of my own. They ain't done nothing. They don't deserve this. Some of those have been here a year. And it breaks me up.
I'm on my way to Sinjar now. It's the heart of what used to be the Yazidi homeland before they were forced out. This is now the front line for some of the fiercest fighting against IS anywhere in the world. And once again, it's the Peshmerga doing the heavy lifting.
Literally got two properly constructed holes here for returning fire, and the enemy are literally now anywhere between 200 and 300 metres in front of me, which is well in range.
Within a couple of hours of our arrival, I witnessed one of the regular airstrikes. And while there's no doubt that the fighters here welcome all the help they can get, the reality is 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 still dug in and going nowhere. The battle for Sinjar has been going on for over a year now, and both sides are bogged down in a stalemate. The Peshmerga commander tells me it's because they aren't properly equipped to do the job.
We need many things here. High-quality night vision goggles are essential for us. We are also dangerously low on ammunition. We need modern assault weapons, so we can attack enemy positions and vehicles safely from a distance. We are lacking in firepower, because as you can see, the weapons we possess are very basic.
We've just been told by one of the guys that they are expecting an attack, and they've got that intelligence by listening in to the walkie-talkie, which goes straight back to ISIS.
As the threat of attack increases, the Peshmerga begin their ritual taunting of the enemy.
It's proper coming in now. They're putting in an attack, I think.
Aşığı kaldır. Bas bir kisi, bas bir kisi. Attention. بس ترتيب لا تركيزك بكثرة نهارك.
It was time to move up to the high ground to get a better view of what was happening along the whole front. The exchanges went on for another hour or so. Before eventually dying out in the early hours. The morning after fighting sees a gradual return to normality. Although there is still always the possibility of a dawn assault. It's hard to explain to outsiders what it's like to have been in combat. And the only people who really understand it are those who've been through it. For me, the battle here at Sinjar summed up everything I'd witnessed. This is a dirty war of attrition against a ruthless enemy, fought on our behalf by an ill-equipped, irregular force. Who, in my opinion, need a bloody sight more than a pat on the back. If this fight is ever going to end.